and or an ID has to sign up non-negotiable for selective service, meaning draft.
Oh, wow. I
So
guess.
they forced her to sign off on that
Wait a
document.
minute. An 87-year-old.
89.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And she goes, I don't understand. I said, just hit accept. So she hit accept. I said, you just signed up for the military. And she goes, oh, God. She was pretty upset. People all around were laughing. I said,
I mean, it's just how stupid can it all get? And the answer is apparently pretty dang stupid. So
were you just listening to Vince talk about the American History Museum?
I did not.
Oh, it's
What happened?
disgusting.
What's that?
Whoever took over in 2019 is completely woke and hates America. And her displays are about, diary
Slavery.
of a little girl that, wants to be a man. And it just goes on and on,
Oh, for
very
God's sake.
gross stuff,
And now they want to get it back to normal, and she's going to go to court to keep it from happening. I mean, these people are so predictable.
probably.
I'll take a look at that. I might talk about that tomorrow. Well, thank you, because I was in a meeting and
Interesting. It's like,
yeah.
what? Wait, what? No, this isn't about American history. Not even normal.
Well, and I thought that, there was some issue I know with the Smithsonian about something, and all of it just feels like, okay, well, this is par for the course, I guess is what I'd say.
They imply Benjamin Franklin shocked African Americans to do tests. There's no evidence of that. But that's one of the questions in the display.
You know what? At
Crazy.
some point, it just drives me crazy. Because I keep thinking, Barb, okay, we've gone through our crazy phase here. We've gone through, especially after COVID, everybody realized it was their time to try to advance whatever their little thing was because people were staying at home and they weren't paying as much attention. So we're going to change the name of your high school football team because you're not going to get 100 people to come to the meeting. You can get 6 people to come to the meeting. Everybody took advantage of it. I'm just so tired of it.
Crazy town.
Well,
why did that make noise? It's supposed to not make noise. Be quiet. It's on do not disturb, but it's got a little bell thing.
Okay. Well, I am ready whenever you'd like to.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb is a pilot, and Barb Schlinker and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have got to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or search. You'll find Barb on most of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of the largest assets, the home. So, Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, Richard, I've got some good topics today. The first one is really about new construction, what's happening with new construction homes, and kind of we're going to deep dive into how builder inventory and new construction demand can actually be a leading indicator about where the market is going. And it's not ideal. Their inventory is building, there's lower buyer demand. So we're going to get into that topic. The next topic is really about downsizing, how some of the top tips on how to move from a large house into a smaller living space. And it's quite a challenge. I think for most people, going into a smaller space is hard because people are very connected to their belongings, right? A lot of them have memories and things. So we'll go over some tips on how to tackle that project and how you can get some help if you need help. The third item is about contracts. So right now, with the market being a lot softer than we would expect it to be in the summer, once a seller gets a contract, they're very happy. In fact, many times they're willing to accept contracts that may not be the best for them just to get it under contract. But how does a home seller really know if it's a done deal once they accept a contract? And what happens to the property and how it's marketed when they accept a contract? So we're going to go into some crazy rules that the MLS has about, okay, you have to put it under contract and tell the world it's under contract, which creates extreme demand destruction. Other buyers quit looking at it. They move on to get something else. But how do you know that buyer is going to stick? Many, many times the buyer walks away, not because of the house, but because of their situation. And then the fourth topic we're going to cover is how to choose a real estate agent to help you sell your home. How do you pick that person that's going to help you reach your goals? And we're going to give you some good questions to ask in that arena, as well as some stories about some mistakes that other people have told me they've made picking the wrong agent, which absolutely can cost you thousands of dollars. Richard? Are you there? Oh, I'm not hearing him. Okay. He walked away. I'm not hearing you guys. I don't know what happened.
Three, two, one. So, Barb, with the rates being as high as they are, there are fewer buyers that can afford a home. So, what are you seeing with market activity of sales in the current market situation?
Well, Richard, as compared to what we saw 5+ years ago, there absolutely is an affordability crisis for home buyers, in particular, first-time home buyers. It used to be a first-time home buyer age might be maybe in their 20s, mid to late 20s, when they have a good job and now they can afford a house payment and they have a little savings. But now that age is zoomed up to the 40s, and a lot of it has to do with what happened back in 2020, 2021. We had a big injection of people coming into the country that weren't necessarily citizens. They were consuming housing. We had the interest rates at extraordinarily low rates. And that meant it was actually cheaper to buy a house than it was to rent at the time, until rental properties became less and less available. And then at the same time, the middle of 2022, the interest rates really surged up. They went as high as 7.5. Right now, they're about 6.59. But if you do the math, let's say somebody gets a VA loan and they buy a home, no money down at 6.59%, with no money down, purchasing a home at 400,000, which is a low price for all along the Front Range, your payment is about 3,000 a month. That's a chunk of money for most of the average consumer. Many times they have to have two households to support that kind of payment. The VA rates are down at 6.2. That's not that much better. But at the end of the day, it's all about house payments. Now, what some of the smart buyers are doing, they're opting for homes that need work. They're getting renovation loans and they're fixing up the home themselves so they can get a better price for homes. Some of them are just saving for their down payment, which I think is very admirable. But I looked at a survey that was done actually about 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, 6 months ago. I can't read the writing here. About what was the buyer sentiment for buyers, like people thinking about buying a home, what percentage were looking and planning to buy a house. So 6 months ago, it was 14%. In the last 7 days from this little unscientific survey, it was only 8% were definitely planning on buying a house. And there was probably an increase in the amount of people that are put it in the maybe category for right now. So that tells me that until it's affordable, they're not going to do it. I think a lot of people really do want to buy a house, but at the end of the day, they have to be able to handle the house payment. Right now, what we're seeing as far as market statistics are not improving for home sellers. Every week I'm seeing the prices gradually kind of drop, which is just the opposite of what we typically see going through the summer months. Usually the prices kind of peak out through the summer and fade off into the fall and winter, but that's not the case. We're early summer, midsummer, and prices are dropping about anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 a week. There's an increase in the number of home sellers that are on the market that are reducing their price. At the same time, the number of available homes is rising. Also, when you take a look at new construction inventory, now this is a nation view, so it could vary market to market, of course, but it gives you a clue looking historically back at 2009, there was about 12 to 13 months of new construction available homes. And now we're seeing it at over 10 and a half months of new construction available homes. So it's kind of getting close to those benchmarks of excess inventory, which means the builders are going to quit building so much because they don't want to get stuck like they did back in 2008. I personally watched a couple of builders go bankrupt. They were developing property. They might have built 3 or so homes, and then they walked away after they didn't get buyers. So that's a problem. And then the other thing that we're seeing, so showing time is a service that basically the realtors use to schedule showings. So let's say I put a listing on the market and one of the 55,000 Colorado agents wants to show it. I'm not going to be taking those calls to schedule the showing. They created an online application where the agent could click and schedule their time. That notification goes out to the seller or whoever is approving the showing, and then they confirm it that way and get the details on access. So Showing Time bought that software a couple of years ago. Showing Time is owned by Zillow, so they're gobbling up all the data. They want to command in all of real estate, and that's been going on probably since 2009 for them. But one of the trends that we're seeing is the number of showing requests have dropped off substantially as compared to a few years ago. So that's not a good sign. It kind of pairs with that buyer sentiment that a lot of buyers are kind of putting their buyer plans on pause until they can afford it. So what I see some of the builders doing to move their inventory is they are offering massive incentives like, hey, we'll buy down your interest rate, where the first couple of years, you'll only have to pay 4% or whatever it is. Plus they're throwing in everything. One of my agents just sold a new construction property where they got new construction, low interest rate, backyard, landscaping, fencing, window covering. All the buyer had to do was move in, drop their stuff, and get on with their lives. And that's been very successful for them. But there's fewer homes available like that. And then what if a buyer happens to get lucky and run across somebody that's a veteran that's allowing their VA loan to be assumed? It's sad to me, but it's not commonly known that anybody that qualifies for a loan can assume a VA loan with a low interest. They just have to have the difference in cash from the sales price to the loan amount. And there are home sellers right now that are sitting on really, really low fixed interest rates, 2, 3, 2.5. One of the ones I just put under contract. We're never going to see 2.5% interest rates, I think, in our lifetime again. And over the life of the loan, it could save the buyer, the buyer that assumes that loan, as much as $500,000 in interest. So it is a huge win for a buyer to be able to purchase a home with a VA assumption in many cases. So it's hard to find those deals. Our local MLS actually won't let us advertise in them, which is kind of crazy. So it's really important that you hire the right team that really understands this, knows how to articulate it for you if you plan to sell your house that way. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how do you sell a home in a competitive market what's going on with the market right now and what you can do to sell your home when you're seeing the market correct just a little bit. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing how to get a house sold in a correcting market. What should home sellers expect and do in this market situation?
Well, Richard, I mean, what happened if they happen to buy before 2018, between 2009 and 2000, even 2020? They probably got a really good price for a home. And since then, the prices surged up quite a bit in a very short period of time. So they look at Zillow, they look at all those automated valuations to figure out what their home is worth. And I can tell you from empirical data, Zillow is not accurate. In most cases, it overstates the home value. So it's very difficult to look at Zillow or look back at similar sales and say, well, my house must be worth that much. You really need somebody that is actively selling in this market, that understands the market, that can help you reach your goals so that you can sell your home without waiting the average 90 days. Because a lot of people really expect to sell it very quickly once they go on the market, and that's not always the case. So, it's unusual to see a 40% appreciation in just a short period of time. And there's probably going to be a little correction from that unless the rates drop back down. So if you are thinking of making a move, we can help you do that. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing the top tips to move from a large house to a smaller living space. Stay tuned for that. One down, picking them up, laying them down, as they say.
You know how we were talking about historical accuracy today?
Yeah.
Did you know that the adage that we should all sleep for 8 hours was developed by Simmons?
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
What's that?
So we are talking about historical accuracy because I'm thinking I might do a podcast that kind of just talks about some things that they don't teach you in high school. And it's not necessarily a checkbook or how to negotiate a lease. It's some pretty big things that you've been lied to or they didn't tell you about. And they told you how horrible, internment camps were and we were Nazis and all this. So you tell her, David.
Oh, I was just being informed by a listener that Simmons actually developed in order to sell more mattresses, that we needed 8 hours of sleep every night. And the only way to get that was through Simmons mattresses.
Go figure.
They made that up.
Yeah, they did.
Shocking, I know, right?
I used to be able to sleep a lot when I was younger. Harder.
So there was a weird stage. I always heard that people who are older could not sleep very well. So when I was younger, I've never slept really, really well. But for a while, I started sleeping poorly. And then I really was sleeping poorly, and I couldn't get a good night's sleep. And I'd wake up and all this. So probably in the past couple of months, I think I finally hit a sweet spot where I wake up, way earlier than I really want to. And yet it's okay. I don't know what changed or whatever, but it's not. It used to be frustrating and aggravating. I'd lay there and try to go back to sleep, and I couldn't. That pissed me off. And then it'd make me even harder to go back to sleep. But something changed, and now I wake up, and I'm okay. I got stuff to do. I'll get some things done.
You wake up and get up. I wake up and walk around a little bit, and then I lay back down and go to sleep.
I try to do that, Barb. I try very much so to do that, but it just doesn't work particularly well. So I did have a friend whose wife said that if she woke up in the morning and she couldn't go back to sleep, that just meant that God had something in mind for her to be praying about, and she just needed to start doing that, and it would turn out. I'm like, okay. I mean, problem is there's always something to be, praying about. So that's never a particularly difficult thing to find. All right, I got segment 2 here. I'm ready when you are, Barb.
I'm ready.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many people think of downsizing or moving to a home with less stairs, less maintenance, things like that. But having to move seems to be a very daunting project. What are you seeing as the common downsizing mistakes, and how can our listeners avoid them?
Well, Richard, I think, first of all, it doesn't matter when you do it in life. Moving is difficult. It's very hard. A lot of people stay in their same house for a lot of years. But there's some things that you can do well in advance to make your move less stressful. So one of the things you don't want to do is wait too long. I've personally witnessed people that call me to help them when they waited a little bit too long to decide to move. And that's very hard. I had one client a couple years back that he was fighting cancer. His wife had memory issues. He was facing a major surgery, and it was way beyond when they should have done that move. But we helped him do it. He got through it. He got to his next destination. Everything ended up being okay. But I've also had a client that had some memory issues that I was helping, and he collected a lot of stuff. I don't know why, but there was like 2 containers of stuff, and there's just a lot of stuff. And so we tried to help him sort through it. He didn't really want to let go of very much of it. But ultimately, what I didn't know, and it's very hard to tell when people have memory problems, right? Because you can't tell from talking to them. Have you ever talked to anybody like that, Richard, that's facing a little bit of memory issue, and the next time you talk to them, they don't remember something that you think they should have?
You know what? You're lucky if that's the case. Quick story. There was a lovely World War II veteran and his wife that I befriended and was friends with them for quite a while. Eventually, they were in an automobile accident. That's the bad side of the story. But when I was talking to the children, they said, well, and she had memory problems and Alzheimer's. And I'm like, no, really? And she, oh my God, you didn't notice it was horrible. Well, it turned out that he helped her avoid people knowing that. He helped her get dressed. He helped her do all of these things. And then when I started thinking about them out in public, all the time he would cover for her, and her answers were just always general answers. And she knew not to say, what are you talking about? Or who are you? Or anything like that. They'd gotten by just getting by, I guess, and covering it up for a long time. So what you're talking about can be much more of a common problem than people realize, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that last case, when I first met him, that Mr. Seller pulled me aside and said, hey, just so you know, next time you come back, she's not going to remember you at all. So don't be
Wow.
surprised if I have to reintroduce you. I said, oh, and it's just weird. So I had one that had memory issues, so much so that he didn't remember that he hired a moving company to move him from his house to a senior care facility. And they were kind of unscrupulous, and he didn't remember doing it. They sued him to get paid. I mean, it was kind of a nightmare. And he thought we moved him. I'm like, no, we didn't do that. So fortunately, he has a brother that could kind of back him up and help him through that scenario. But that's something that the family should be paying attention to. But I'm just wondering how many people are out there that don't necessarily have family to help them when they get to that point. It's heartbreaking to me. And then I had another client that, was in his 70s. He didn't have any memory issues, but he was a victim of basically making an inquiry online about moving companies. And this one moving company reached out to him. He contracted with the moving company after them looking at all of the contents in his house. And then when they got there on moving day, it was this big bait and switch to say, oh, wait a minute, we didn't know about that baby grand piano. And that's going to cost you $2,000 more. And so he lost his deposit. He fired them. He lost his deposit. But, so you don't want to do that. If a moving company is contacting you, look out. You should be reaching out. That's just one of my tips that you should think of. So there's a lot of things to consider. Nobody wants to get taken advantage of. Another thing that a lot of homeowners assume is that the family, the kids, or whatever want their furniture. But you have to keep in mind, they already have furniture more than likely. And not all pieces are attractive to the kids or the extended family member. But I still would ask the question, say, hey, I'm going to downsize. I'm moving from this big house to 2 bedrooms or whatever. I don't want most of this stuff. I remember what my mom did. My dad had passed away, and she just said, all right, kids, come and get whatever you want. So we all descended on the house and kind of picked out the stuff that we wanted. And most of us really didn't want furniture. We wanted some mementos and stuff. So then what do you do with it if the family doesn't want it? And I hear this a lot where people say, well, I paid $10,000 for that Ethan Allen, living room set or whatever. And the problem is you can't get $10,000 when you resell it. If you're lucky, you might get 10 cents on the dollar for used furniture. There are consignment stores in town that you can use, and some will pick up your furniture, some will not. We allow our clients to use moving vans for free if they don't have somebody to pick up their furniture. So we have options to help people with that scenario, but it's another big burden that you have to take care of. Now, if you're selling to an investor, like if you are basically, it's an as-is deal, you might lose a little bit of equity selling to an investor. A lot of those investors actually will say, hey, leave whatever you don't want, we'll take care of it. So that's a nice, convenient thing if it happens. But some signs to consider downsizing are, you need a simpler life. You want, I hear a lot of people say, this is too much house for me to maintain. I hear that over and over again, too much yard to maintain. Some people are looking at trying to get into a lower cost housing going forward. Some people aren't using all of the property, or they want to get out of the weather, or maybe my parents, until they passed away, lived in a house that had a very, very steep driveway. It used to make us very nervous, the whole thing. But they weren't moving. My dad's like, you're taking me out of here in a box. And that's pretty much how it went down. Or if they're having physical issues taking care of the house. That's what some of the most common things that we see. And actually, the largest percentage of people contacting me to downsize, it's not necessarily about the house that they're in. It's about being closer to family. Probably the biggest, strongest genetic pull for downsizing and being closer to family is to be closer to grandkids. I see that all the time. Or being closer to their adult children that can take care of them. All those things are really important. Now, be very careful with the cost of moving. There's local moves that you can do at a low cost. There's out-of-state moves that you can get a pretty good pricing on. I definitely would shop around for that. I recently had a client that they were in their 70s, not really physically strong, and they decided to rent their own van and move themselves. Well, before they left, they ran into the front of the house and wiped out the mailbox, and then he hurt himself on the truck. I mean, he should not have done that himself. It might have been worth a little bit more money to have somebody do that for you. But watch for scammers online. Try not to cheap out on the move, especially if you have some physical issues where you can't do it yourself. We have all kinds of tips like that. And when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about kind of the rest of the downsizing mistakes and how you can avoid them. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And I can't wait to talk about the rest of this. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking with Barb about the top downsizing mistakes and how to avoid them. So, Barb, what are some other mistakes and how do our listeners plan to downsize with ease?
Well, a lot of people kind of underestimate everything that they own and what they actually use. And they did some studies and they figured out that most people use about 20% of what they have, which I'd say that's definitely true for us. But we can get help to help you get rid of things that you don't need or repurpose things that you don't need. It's a journey. It can be very emotional. A lot of things have memories. And what happened to my folks were that basically after they had both passed away, their house got caught up in the Waldo Canyon fire. But my mom planned the move fairly well. So what she did initially was gathered the stuff that she wanted for her new place, because that happened before the house burnt down. And then she had an estate sale. And she had the kids come get what they wanted. Then she had an estate sale. And I was at the estate sale. And I will tell you, it was kind of funny. I was going through the stuff that was there. And I ran across this cookbook. And there were a bunch of cookbooks. She was a fabulous, she was a Air Force officer's wife. So I don't know if you know much about that, Richard, but back in the day, you had to entertain if you were an officer's wife. You had to have parties. You had to have events. You had to go to events. It was all about rank and very much be a socialite. Did you ever meet anybody that did that?
I didn't, but there was a television program that talked about that, and I watched it for a season. It was very interesting because I didn't realize that kind of came with the territory. You want your spouse to be an officer? Yeah, well, there are some obligations, or at least there used to be.
Yeah, you had to play well in the sandbox. Basically, that was how your husband could get promoted if you got along with the wives. And so anyway, what I came across was this cookbook. It was the Maxwell Air Force Base Officers' Wives Cookbook. It came from, I think the first edition was probably 1956, and it went through 1961. So I'm showing an image of it here, which this would never happen in today's world. It was kind of cool. The name of the book is Stove Pilot, and it has a picture of an officer's wife riding a rocket in a bikini, holding a frying pan in one hand and a cookbook in the other hand.
That is crazy. And that is that's a B-1 buzz bomb from World War II.
Yeah, it's something like that. But anyway, and what was funny is what's in the cookbook, a majority of the recipes in the cookbook are mixed drink recipes. There's a little bit of food and appetizers in there, but it's mostly alcohol. So when I came across this in my mom's estate sale, I'm like, oh my God, I have to keep this. So I took it out of the estate sale. I went and found some more of them online and gave a copy to everybody, all the girls in my family, because I just felt like it was a sentimental thing that you would want to keep. So you never know what's important to people. But my mom was a fabulous entertainer and cook and all that stuff. And it's kind of a dying breed. We don't live like that anymore as much, but it was pretty cool. But you also want to consider when you're downsizing, donating items to a good cause. There's a lot of good organizations out there like Life Network. It's a thrift store that supports life, and they're at, I think, Montebello and Academy, Habitat for Humanity, the Ark. There's different religious charities like Catholic charities, different places to help homeless people. There's all kinds of cool stuff. that you could donate your stuff to if you don't want it. Or you could resell it at the consignment stores. And, in general, when you are doing that, take it one room at a time or you'll absolutely get overwhelmed. Set aside all your jewelry, have a packing plan, like color code with rooms. Say, okay, one room is going to be black and one's orange and one's blue. That way, when you unpack, you know what it goes to. And then make sure you have a first day packing box. Those are just kind of the quick and easy tips, but we help people do this. So if you are thinking of making a move, you need some help with this, we allow people to use our moving vans for free. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard.
Barb, you and your team are the only company that I would recommend to people out there who are thinking of selling their homes and downsizing to a smaller home. They can get more information by calling Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit Barb Has the Buyers. When we come back, we'll be discussing, is your home sale a done deal after you accept a contract? Barb will explain that when we come back, which will be in just a couple of minutes. Actually, not even a couple of minutes. Before you could run to the refrigerator and make yourself a sandwich or a sandwich. What kind of sandwich are you making? Is it something that Barb and I might be interested? Or David?
It's lunchtime.
Did you like that story, Richard?
I did. And you know what? And David, take my story out. I don't know why I do that. I think it's good for me to have
I liked your
interaction.
story.
Well, I think it's good to have interaction, but sometimes I just have these stories that go on and on and on. He'll shorten it. That's good. It was so sad. I didn't want. He was a guy that was there at Pearl Harbor. He was one of the guys that was on one of the ships that saw one of the Japanese subs trying to sneak in, and so I did a bunch of different events, took them here, took them there. She was the most lovely woman in the world. And the entire time I knew her, she had Alzheimer's, couldn't remember anything. And I had no clue because they had just figured out this little system where he covered for her. And she just, learned not to say anything or just to make general comments.
It's so sad. Of all the pieces, parts I keep when I get older, that would be one I'd like to have.
Well, and the thing is, it was so cute because you could tell how much he was in love with her by how he did all of this. He helped her do her hair, and
Wow.
she couldn't remember what she looked like, so he would have a photograph and would say, "Okay, so this is what we're going to do with your hair." I mean, it was really. I loved her. She was just, oh my God, what a great couple.
Yeah.
All right, I got number 3 here. You know what? Let me do that. Do I sound like it?
You were starting to towards the end there, so.
All right, I do have water there. Okay.
You good?
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm ready. We'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and the host of the program. Now, Barb, most people worry about leaving money on the table when they're accepting an offer. How do home sellers know that it's a done deal after they accept a contract?
Well, Richard, to be honest, they don't. The good news is most of the deals go through. When the market was hot, it was a very low percentage of fallout in contracts, but that number has gone from like 10% to 30% now. And home sellers really want certainty. They want to know their house is going to sell. They want to know that they're going to get their price. They want to know that things are going to go smoothly. They want to know their sale will go through, and they want to be sure of their destination, as well as having the funds to improve their lifestyle going forward. And it's not necessarily certain when you accept a contract. Basically, buyers can walk away from a contract and they have 8 or 10 different reasons to do so. They could terminate just because they change their mind. And if we don't protect their earnest money, I've seen it where a buyer basically terminated just a few days before closing, just suddenly walked away. Now, we did protect that seller's earnest deposit, but they had already packed up and 90% moved out when this happened. And that's an absolute nightmare for home sellers. It doesn't, fortunately, that scenario doesn't happen that often, but you don't know. So our team is trained on how to protect our clients in that kind of scenario. Most agents assume, oh, at this point in the contract, the earnest money is non-refundable. No, that's not the way our state laws are designed. Basically, it's 100% refundable, even at the finish line. And you can't make a buyer buy, and you can't make a seller sell, but the buyer has a lot more opportunities to bail out. The seller has few, if any, at all. To top it all off, the MLS has these unbelievably stupid rules that create demand destruction for the home sellers. So if you're a home seller, Richard, wouldn't you like it if you had a good offer that you accepted, bird in the hand, followed by a backup one that if buyer one bails, you got buyer number two? Doesn't that feel good?
Boy, that sounds like a great position to be in. How can you do that?
Well, the MLS rules don't let home sellers do it in this really nationwide with it. And the reason they're doing it is the most unbelievable thing, is to make it more convenient for the agent so they don't have to show a home that's already under contract and waste their time. But at the end of the day, okay, if a seller accepts a contract, the buyer could bail out just because they don't like the paint color. The buyer could bail out if they don't like their loan. 3-4 weeks into the process, even when you've already moved, they could bail out and say, well, I don't want it anymore. And then during all this time, your house is showing on all the online portals, if you follow their rules, as not being available. It is absolute demand destruction. And that's what the rules require, just to make it more convenient for the agents that are really just not selling homes. I'll give you a couple of specific examples. One of them is what we call the word under contract. So most of the buyers are looking on the tech company sites now. They're not looking in the MLS. So they're looking at Zillow, homes.com, realtor.com. And when we're forced to change the status in the MLS. And oh, by the way, certain MLSs like RE Colorado, most of Denver and most of Southern Colorado, if you don't change the status within 24 hours of the status actually changing, they will fine you $250 the first time, $500 the second time. So there's a punishment to it if we don't follow their stupid rules. So we showed under contract, it shows up in realtor.com and Zillow as being not available, right? So buyers don't look at it because they think it's not available. And realtor.com uses the word contingent. Contingent, most of the consumers don't really know what that means. Contingent on what? Well, contingent on the buyer getting their loan and maybe still liking the house in 30 days. But contingent is also the same word that's used on realtor.com. If the seller has accepted a contract contingent on their home selling. I just got an offer like this. Hey, Richard, will you please reserve your home for me? I'll pay you full price, right? I'll give you a good down payment. And wait for me to sell my home. And oh, by the way, it's not even on the market yet. How do you feel about that?
I feel horrible about that. I would have to say I'm going to reject that. I'm going to talk to you. You're my expert on this thing, but that doesn't sound like a good deal at all. That sounds like a lot of wishful thinking.
And if you get back to these MLS rules, if you change the status according to their rule, other buyers won't look at it, even though we don't know if this buyer can buy. All we have is a buyer that likes the home, that would like to buy the home if their home maybe sells. And oh, by the way, they haven't even taken the steps to put their home on the market to get it sold. It's insane.
That is the definition of demand destruction.
It is. It's like, who came up with this really dumb idea? So that it's our multiple listing service. And if you don't comply with their rules, they will take you to the MLS police and fine you. That's how it works. Now, I have a way around it. because I work for my clients. I don't work for the MLS. Not at one time, any time in my 30-year career did the MLS ever pay me a commission check. Therefore, I'm going to do what's best for my client. Go ahead and take me to the MLS police. I'm happy to face it, okay, because it's really stupid. And here's what else happens. Let's say a buyer walks away from a contract, right? So we've told the MLS and Realtor.com and Homes.com and Zillow that the home was under contract, but now, oh, it's back on the market. What do you think the buyers are assuming happened here? What would you assume when you saw that, Richard?
I would assume that there was something that was wrong with it. Maybe an inspection turned up something that, killed the deal.
Exactly. That's the automatic assumption for everybody. Something's wrong with the house. But 99% of the time, there's nothing wrong with the house. There's something wrong with the buyer. They change their mind. They can't get qualified, whatever it is. Oh, by the way, in the state of Colorado, there is no legal requirement for the real estate agent to verify that the buyer can buy at any time in the process. So here we are tying up this property, making these sellers move. And oh, whoops. Oh, I didn't know they couldn't buy a house. I mean, to me, it's unacceptable what the MLS has done to our industry. And that's why people hate real estate agents almost as much as lawyers. Hate to say that to you, Richard, because I know you're a lawyer, but they don't trust
I didn't
them.
like a lot of the other lawyers. I will tell you that.
Anyway, so I mean, it's a problem. So if a home is priced right, okay, there will be a stack of buyers that want the home. So why are you going to tell the whole world it's unavailable? Now, if they call me and they ask the question, I'll tell them what's going on. I actually got yelled at last week, Richard, by another agent's buyer. We put this home on the market. The sellers chose to price it very realistically, which was good. And within 4 days, we got an almost full price contract, cash, closed pretty quick. Sellers were good with it. They accepted it. I changed the status in the local MLS, but not on Zillow, Realtor, and Homes.com because I have my own way of doing it. And I got a call from this buyer that said, "Can you please confirm that this home is under contract?" And I said, "Yes, it is under contract." She goes, "Well, I did my real estate agent call you?" I said, "I had somebody call me, but I don't think they had seen the house yet." She goes, "No, that wasn't my realtor." "Did my realtor, what's his name?" She told me his name. "Did he call you?" I said, "No." And she goes, "I'm just trying to decide if I should fire him." And I said, "Why do you say that?" She goes, "Because I've been looking for 2 years for a house, and this was the perfect house for me, and he didn't call you." Of course, calling me doesn't do anything. You have to send me an offer. And so I asked her a couple questions. I said, "All right, well, if you wanted to make an offer, how come there was no offer?" "Well, I had him call you." So I don't know if he told her that he had to call me first before he wrote an offer. Just so you know, it's only 1 month of school to be a real estate agent. So there's no job description. So I don't know what they're assuming on what they have to do to submit an offer, but it's a 10-minute form fill and hit send on email. And they had time to do it. They had time to compete with the other buyer, but they never wrote the offer. They never sent the offer. And she's trying to decide if she wants to fire her agent because it went under contract. I said, you had time from the time that you saw it. That buyer had submitted their offer the day before, and then we countered, and all day long they didn't sign the counter until late at night. And we had some little back and forth about the counter too. So you had time to do it. She goes, "Yeah, but he didn't call you, did he?" I said, I don't know. There's 55,000 agents, but I don't think so. I talked to one agent about that property that had not seen it yet. So that kind of stuff happens all the time because there is no job description, right? And these people go out and they hire somebody that has their back. So the other question I asked her is, by the way, that home had been on the market all week. Where have you been if you've been looking for 2 years? She goes, "I know. I had to find it. I had to find it myself. I have to do everything." So that's another problem with real estate agents. They don't go out and find homes for their buyers. The buyers find it. and go, hey, agent, go open the door and then ask the seller to pay you thousands of dollars for opening a door on a house I found and making an offer for me and, filling out a 10-minute form. That's basically how it works right now. And people are getting really disgruntled with that whole process. I could go on and on about that. Anyway, we have a lot of solutions to help home sellers kind of, get around that done deal scenario to make sure they understand that we're going to go through this process. We have to kind of trust their side that they can perform. But for us, we're going to verify, even though the state doesn't require us to verify, we are going to verify. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. My name is Barb Schlinker, the host of the show, Your Real Estate Voice. We're talking about whether or not your deal is a done deal. When we come back, we're going to talk about a few little things that will make your transition hassle-free. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb is the host of the program. And Barb, we've gone from nearly all homes selling for a premium price to homes sitting longer on the market and some homes not even selling. How do you give your home sellers certainty when it comes to the sale?
Well, Richard, there about 80% of the buyers out there actually have a house to sell before they buy. Did you know it was a number that high?
I did not. I would never thought that.
It's a lot. And so how do you solve that problem? Most agent solutions, the best solution for them is to put your house under contract and then make it contingent on the close. So now this home seller's got to worry about not only his buyer going through the process, but the buyer's buyer going through the process. So it's kind of double jeopardy in that scenario. We actually have all kinds of buy before you sell cash offer programs, because for buyers, the biggest fear is basically not being able to get the home that they want or having the deal fall out at the last minute. So we have some great programs. In fact, 2 of them are lenders. To me, when I heard about this program, I just flipped out because it's astounding that 2 lenders will be willing to take their cash, go buy the home that you want for you for cash, then wait for you to sell your current home. Then when you sell your current home, they want the loan. But even if you're not getting a loan, they'll do it too. So it's amazing. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of those. We have 7 different buy before you sell programs. So if you want to find out about those, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You can give Barb a call at 719-301-3900. Ask for Barb. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to choose a real estate agent who can help you reach your goals of selling your home, plus Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for those. I do need more water.
Is that too much inside baseball, those last 2 topics?
No, I don't think so.
Trying to make it
I don't
simple.
think so, because I think that, first of all, I'm trying to think if you've ever had something that was too much inside baseball. And I'm not sure you have, because you have a way of presenting things and making them pretty easy to understand. So even stuff that might technically be inside baseball, I think it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
I've always loved the deleted scenes and
Yes,
behind
they
the
are.
scenes stuff from the DVDs. So maybe I'm just old school.
That's
Yeah.
exactly how to look at it. That's exactly how to look at it. All right, I've got a number 4. I think we can get you out of here, David, by 1 o'clock if we're.
Yeah, we can crank it.
All right, here we go. 3, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner-broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and the host of the program. Barb, you know I've recommended you and your team for years, but many people put very little planning or thought into picking a real estate agent to handle one of their largest assets, the home. Barb, how do home sellers choose the best realtor when it comes to selling a house?
Well, Richard, most people do it just they reach out to someone they know or someone they're referred to or someone that sold them the house before. And they don't put a lot of thought into choosing somebody to help you handle one of your largest assets. And the sad part about this industry is it's a license to learn, essentially. I've got 30 years of it, a lot of sales, a lot of experience, but a majority of the agents don't sell very many homes. They might be a nice person and you might have liked them, but how good are they at helping you position the home so you can reach your goals and be able to sell your home on time and without too much craziness, right? Not all real estate agents are the same. There is no job description. There is no how to do this job other than filling out forms and complying with the very light license laws about real estate. There's very little training on pricing, almost none on marketing, almost less than none on negotiating and closing skills. And it's interesting. Some of the feedback that we get when we have showings, the agents are weak on this last topic of closing skills because they don't know how to deal with objections. So let's say a buyer says, "Oh, I really love this house, but I don't like the size of the closet." How would you deal with that? Well, you've got 6 other closets in the house. Maybe you could just put your summer clothes over here. They don't know how to deal with any kind of objection. So they just automatically assume this house is off the table, moving on. Or worse yet, the buyer says, "I love this house," but then they keep showing them other homes. It's like, what are you doing? It's time to go back to the office and explore it. Don't let that sale get away. A confused mind does nothing. So it really can cost you a lot of money to pick the wrong agent. And especially when timing is critical on the aggressively priced homes. If you take the time to think about it, if you hesitate, it could mean someone else gets that house and not you. So when you hear the love word, you got to respond. A lot of agents don't know that, especially on the buyer side. But on the selling side, people think that the job is to go take pictures and post on the internet and hope some other agent has a buyer. And I'm telling you now, more and more and more, I'm getting buyers calling me, telling me that they are not represented. They want to go directly to the listing agent. And a lot of it has to do with the weakness that they're finding in the industry. According to the National Association of Realtors, most people only speak to one real estate agent before putting their home on the market. Oftentimes it's the one that sold to them. But here are the sad facts. 81% of the agents out there sell 3 or less homes in a year. According to Zillow, 72% didn't sell any in the last year. And then in the Pikes Peak region, if you just, take an example of any given month, there's typically 800 to 1,000 sales in a month, but there are 6,300 agents. So that's a clue right there. That tells you that if everything was equal, and it's not, 1 out of 5 agents are not getting paid every month. So what do you think they're going to tell you when you interview them to sell your house? Don't worry, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I can get you that unrealistic price that you're asking for because I do this and this and this. And and I've told sellers frankly and honestly, look, I'm not gonna overprice your listing and take it because it's just going to end in frustration for all of us and cost me money. I have to pay for marketing. But it's not really about me. They want success, right? They want it to work. So if If you tell them, oh, sure, don't worry, I'll get you this price, you get them to sign on the dotted line, which is what agents think they should be doing. And then next thing they know, oh, sorry, no showings. Oh, sorry, feedback is this price too high. Oh, sorry, right? What happens, right? So they make the other agent the bad guy and say, well, they said it was priced too high, so you're going to have to lower the price. Okay. That is a mistake. Now, sometimes the sellers are deciding on the price based on random data like Zillow, which is very random. It's only looking at the homes listed for sale, not the ones that are actually selling. Also, some other random data people use is, well, I need to net this much to buy X. I wish it worked that way, but the market is the market, especially in a declining market. I think a lot of people misunderstand. And actually just a week ago, I met with a seller who was thinking about switching over to me, and I talked him out of it. I said, yeah, your agent's doing okay. The marketing's okay. It's just a price. Fix it. He fixed it. Next week, it went under contract. So I got a bottle of wine out of it, which wasn't bad. But, at the end of the day, I didn't think he should take out and shoot his agent because I felt like it was close. He just wasn't really looking at the market the same way that I was. And the thing is, if agents are only selling 1 or 2 or 3 homes a year, they don't know the market. I honestly believe the buyers know more about the real estate market than the agents do, to be honest with you. So you want to ask them, how'd you come up with this price? You don't want to hire part-time agents. I hear a lot of people that have awkward, weird experiences hiring their friends. That can be uncomfortable because are they still going to be your friend when you fire them, or a family member? It's a little awkward when that happens. Has that ever happened to you, Richard?
It hasn't, but the threat of dying under some of these circumstances is pretty good. I mean, if you don't get we were just joking here, the way you made a reference before. You're cutting all of this out here, David. No, that's never happened to me before, but that's the advantage of listening to you, Barb. You've got more than 25 years of experience. So there's a pretty good chance that if something is going to happen on a negotiation or a sale, you've been through it or something similar to it before.
Yeah, and don't believe don't believe Zillow. Zero is probably a good name for him.
Yeah.
Don't believe Zillow. It's fake news, okay? It's based on their, quote, super secret algorithm, which actually just averages available homes. That's what AI told me, not averaging what has sold. So it's really off. And right now, the current stats indicate that more than 50% of homes that are currently on the market are reducing their price. What does that mean? They got the price wrong from the beginning. You want to make sure you don't pick an agent that's unfamiliar with the market or the one that can't wait to discount to the bottom of their fee just to get you to sign on the bottom line. Now, I will do that on occasion. If people are tight on their equity, I'll do what I can to help them. But at the end of the day, if an agent's typically going to discount their fee, what are they going to do when it comes to negotiating? Oh yeah, take that offer for sure. You know what I'm saying? You want somebody that's strong, that has your back. So we're seeing, and then the ones that don't charge very much, you could put your home in the multiple listing service for a few $100s if you want to, but are you really getting the expertise there? Does it work for you? Now we have a free report that you can order on our website. Barb Has the Buyers. It's entitled The 10 Questions to Ask Before You Hire a Real Estate Agent. It's actually 3 reports. It gives you a way to grade agents and all that sort of thing. And it might be helpful. Go to barbhasthebuyers.com to order your report for free. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how do you pick an agent to sell one of your largest assets. We're going to cover a couple of interview questions in the next little segment. And when we come back, if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
We're talking, Barb, about giving the audience information they can find to use the best agent to sell their home. What are some other questions that a home seller should be asking when they're hiring a realtor?
Well, one good question is, how many buyers are you currently working with? How likely is your company going to show my home? Are the buyers that you're bringing through my home, are they qualified to buy a house? listen carefully to this because the state doesn't require it. And if you know how it works on Zillow, if you look at Zillow, there's a blue button for every single listing. And so the way Zillow makes money is they sell buyer leads to real estate agents by zip code. And so one real estate agent, maybe 20 real estate agents are paying 3,000 to 5,000 a month for that zip code to maybe get 5 buyer calls. So when they click on that button, they're getting some random agent that's paying for the zip code. The agent doesn't know anything about the house. And the buyer is expecting to go see the house. They don't want to be interviewed. They don't want to sign an agreement. They want you to open the door, right? And so it's a problem. And so you as the seller, you're thinking, well, this buyer's coming to see my house. This buyer can buy the house. I've already verified that they're qualified. I verified what they're looking for. No, that never happens. Typically, it's just an internet lead that says click. And we're like, okay, we're going to pop tart out of the toaster, go show the house and hope it works out. So it's really frustrating for sellers when they get feedback that's disconnected from what the house actually is. And if you're not happy, of course, you can work with your agent to cancel your listing if they are not doing what they promised. That's already basically hardwired into the contract. We offer all kinds of guarantees, even a cancellation guarantee. And here are some questions some agents would rather you did not ask. How many homes did you sell? And how many homes do you sell in a month? And how many homes have you sold in my area? All 3 of those questions are like, oh, that's awkward, you know. My team and I, we're selling homes every 24 or 48 to 72 hours. And you want to make sure that you hire the agent that is the right fit for you. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we meet with you, we're actually going to show you a list of buyers that we have. We're going to show up with offers. How many agents show up with offers at your home? And we're going to show you how we'll maximize a way to create demand for your home so it sells for top dollar. Richard?
Barb, you've got some hot new listings this week. Tell us about them.
I do. I have a really awesome home on Agate Creek. This is actually at Jackson Creek, close to the Air Force Academy, priced in the upper 6s, 3,800 square feet, 3-car garage, spectacular views, beautiful home. We have another one that's a fixer-upper, and I put this in here. It's a VA repo. We get requests every day for investors that want to do fix and flip. This home definitely needs work. So it's offered at a very, very low price. And for those that like to do that, there are opportunities. So if you want to get insider access to our off-market homes that do represent the best deals, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We have another one on Kasdan Circle, also remodeled home and a great price in the low 3s. Featured open this weekend, a great Briargate home that's 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car garage on a cul-de-sac. Lots of beautiful updates, priced at $399,900. Fabulous home up in Highland Lakes and Divide, overlooks a lake. Now, how many lakefront properties do you find in general in Colorado? Not too many. Priced at $699,000. Beautiful home, great views on a couple of acres. Fabulous home on 35 acres on Jorba Grove that actually offers a VA assumable loan at a low interest rate. So to find out more, any buyer can assume a VA loan. You just have to qualify for the loan. Give us a call at 719-301-3900. Beautiful, almost new home up in Crystal Park behind Manitou, just under $1 million with a RV garage, really gorgeous setting. Lots of privacy all around. And then we have another great home on Reno Road at $599 on 62 acres with gorgeous views. A great home out in Peyton on Cascading Spring. This is the perfect downsize home. Rancher, about 1,700 square feet, easy care home. Another great townhome downtown in Fountain. Would be great to have a mixed use of business and living, and priced in the low 5s. Beautiful home on Moose Jaw Drive, almost brand new home, $624,999. Fabulous home on Sugarloaf Road, just lowered the price to $790 with spectacular views and a solar system. Also a great home on Mead Drive in the low 3s. Another gorgeous home up in Woodland Park in the mid to upper 6s. This is a remodeled home with a great addition. Fabulous home on Balsam Street. Just lowered the price to $475 with a 3-car garage. Amazing garden. Great home on Gold King with an assumable loan. Another home on 5 acres on Warriors Path. And a spectacular custom home in Florissant, $2.15 million. And another home up in Elizabeth on Private Road 17, just under $1.2 million, with a massive outbuilding, gorgeous views. If you want to find out about our properties, go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on featured listings, and we'd be happy to share those with you, or call us at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That'll do it for this week. God bless you, Barb. We look forward to talking to you next week. Have a good one.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. Let's see. Oh, here we are. Okay. So unexpected builder inventory indicates a lower buyer demand. Top tips to move from a large house to a smaller one. Your home sale